Good evening. This message goes to Sifu Freddie. I just wanted to, give my opinion on some of your videos and some of the things you're talking about as far as martial arts go. I actually have a lot of respect for you, and you make a lot of valid points about martial arts today, losing its artistry, being too violent with the UFC stuff, and some people claiming they're martial art masters when they're not. Example is Bloodsport with Frank Dukes. That dude's nah. I mean, no offense to that guy, but no. I have respect for Jean-Claude Van Damme. Even though he's not the greatest martial artist, he actually has a fight record and took time to study. I think you make a lot of valid points about going overseas trying to learn martial arts. That the time to do it during that time period, like one of the martial art masters I actually trained under for a little while, was definitely in the 70s and the early 80s, even the 60s, because that's when everything was first opening up. And even though they still didn't want to teach people around that time period, thank God for Bruce Lee being open-minded enough to say, I want my people to learn. I want my people to, I don't care what they look like, I'm going to teach them martial arts, I mean, one of the people he worked with and was Master Jesse Glover. I mean, nobody really talks about him as much as they should, but he was his assistant. He's the black guy always in the videos next to Mr. Lee, other than, of course, Master Don Santiano and some of the other people as well. But that aside, you're right as far as martial arts being labeled. It shouldn't be labeled because, in all essence, most martial artists who are true martial artists, they don't even worry about belts. The belts don't matter. They matter to an extent, but not that much, and it's like you say, I study Taekwondo, I study karate, I study wushu, I study gojuru, whatever the case may be, and people are worried about these styles, but you look at another part of the world, people are doing the same exact thing. Maybe slightly modified, slightly different. Same thing goes on in the Philippines, with Eskrima and the Kali sticks and all that stuff. And people saying, well, my family started this and my family started that. It doesn't matter. I mean, the styles are similar. So a lot of times, being in the world of martial arts, from what I gathered and what I've seen, egos come into play. Everybody has an ego. The thing is keeping your ego in check. You got to keep your ego. It's there's nothing wrong with being confident. There's a difference between being confident and having a huge ego. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. The other thing I want to talk about is people being overweight in martial arts. Honestly, I've seen some Taekwondo people. I've seen some people who are even Kung Fu fighters. And I apologize for labeling because I shouldn't be labeling them, but those people are some of the fastest and strongest people I've seen, despite the fact they have a huge belly. So again, I mean, I need to lose some weight myself. And I'm not a master. I will never claim to be a master. Maybe one day I'll have the understanding and be enlightened to the world of martial arts and what it truly is. I know some things, but I'm still in the process of learning. I'm only 29 years old, so I still have to learn, and martial arts is a lifelong journey. You may not understand it fully until you're maybe like 50, 60 years old, when you finally have that awakened sense of what martial arts is. A lot of times, I think people like the confidence that people who are martial artists carry, and how they understand what martial arts is, the people that really have the knowledge, and there's some people overseas who can do some amazing things. I mean, things from what I've been told. I can't claim to it, but the people I've talked to, they're well respected, very well respected, overseas and here, because they've been doing martial arts. You're talking about for 50 years, 50, 60 years, and for them to be black and be minorities, to go over there and ask to teach there, I mean, that's an honor for them. And they were there during the right time period, because timing is everything. Would I go over there today at my age and try to learn martial arts? No. Absolutely not. And I agree with you 100%. You know, the martial arts world is very tragically racist to people who are black and white. You know, things have changed somewhat, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, but overseas, it depends on who you know, who you're connected to, and if the person's willing to really teach you. Me personally, I would never go overseas to really learn martial arts unless I feel 100% confident that I'm getting a teacher that's going to take time to really work with me and not look at what I look like, you know. But it's very seldom, but it does happen. I think a lot of times, like when you talk about Bruce Lee wasn't even worried about, like you said, styles. He wasn't worried about labeling. He pulled from everything, and he saw the similarities in everything. I mean, you look at the end of the day, we all have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, a body, and some of the things are still the same. Some of the same principles, some of the same movements, some of the same philosophies. You know, and like I said, again, there's people who can do amazing things. I mean, because they understand what martial arts is, not only on a physical level, but on a spiritual level. From what I've been told, you know, I can't claim it, but from what I've been told, you know, and I'm sure some of it, what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. You know, in fact, I'm sure you probably know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about people doing certain spiritual things that the average person may not be able to do or take years to get. Me personally, I would never touch it because you need to be mentally stable in order to handle something like that. You know, a lot of times people aren't mentally stable and they take it too far, you know, and they're not able to come out of it. And tragically, some things can happen. You know, if they take it that far, you know, sometimes you got to back off. But I do agree with you that, you know, it's too much violence as far as in the martial arts world, as far as UFC being over commercialized and things of that nature. However, let me also state this to you. We live in a world nowadays, tragically, where people are crazy. When you have a family, when you got children, when you got loved ones you care about, a wife or whatever, you know, you want to make sure that they are able to protect themselves, you know, and armed or unarmed, you know, and that doesn't necessarily always means a weapon, but, you know, when you are the weapon, you know, you just have to be responsible with it. And nowadays, people are crazy. You know, you have to know how to defend yourself.